Unless you live under a rock, then I'm sure you heard about the whole Balenciaga scandal. Some say that all publicity is good publicity, but Balenciaga has been all over the news lately for the one of the worst things that you could be mentioned with. Balenciaga has been around in one form or another since 1917, and with a brand that old, you definitely have faced some rough times before, but nothing like what they've stepped in lately. I'm Nate the Great from TakeFlight214.com, and in today's video, we won't so much discuss the rise of the brand, mainly because it's a long winding story, and I'll go into it a little bit, but also because you guys care less about how it all started and more about the whole debacle that they find themselves in today and whether or not they can make it out of it. Man, this episode can be a rise and fall and a dark side of fashion all rolled into one. So, I guess let me stop wasting time and jump right into it. This is the rise and fall of Balenciaga, or the dark side of fashion, the Balenciaga scandal. But before we get started, don't forget to smash that like button. Liking and sharing the video is the best way to help us to continue to grow as a channel. But with that being said, let's get to this crazy story. Balenciaga was created by Cristobal Balenciaga in 1917 under the name of Elsa, a shortened version of his mother's maiden name. And throughout the early years of Balenciaga established themselves as a player in the European high fashion scene. After a successful several decades, Cristobal Balenciaga closed his couture fashion house in 1968 and unfortunately passed away only 4 years later at the age of 77. Balenciaga, the brand, went dormant for 2 decades, only to be revived in 1986. They went through several creative directors, but Nicolas Jesquier, I literally had to just watch a video on him pronouncing his name, so Jesquier. I hope I sound nice and French in saying it. But Nicolas Jesquier is credited with reviving the brand in 1997. In 2001, the fashion house was acquired by Curie, who also currently owns Yves Saint Laurent, Alexander McQueen, and Bottega Veneta. So in other words, the legacy house was bought by a gigantic corporation looking to make profit. Sound familiar? But keep that in mind for later. In 2012, they hired Alexander Wang as the brand's new creative director. This would spark the beginning of the brand's sketchy activities, if you will. Wang was accused by 11 people, all male or transgender, of vigorously groping them, drugging them, and pulling their underwear down in public. Get your hand out of my pocket! As of today, nothing serious has come to Wang, but this will pale in comparison to the controversy that the brand would see years later. So in 2015, Wang will be out, no pun intended, but Wang will be out and Demna will be in as the new creative director at Balenciaga. Demna, for better or for worse, would introduce the brand to the streetwear genre, so to speak. Prior to the Demna's entry, Balenciaga was strictly high fashion. Alexander Wang had dabbled a little in some aspects, but nothing like what Demna would bring to the brand. Demna is a Georgian-born designer that got his start with Vetments. Remember them? I gotta do a video on them. If you know what Vetments was about, then there's no surprise that Demna brought streetwear to Balenciaga. At Vetments, it was all about avant-garde mixed with street aesthetic. So when Demna was brought on as the creative director at Balenciaga, he brought his take with him, in more ways than one. With Demna at the helm, Balenciaga released some good stuff, i.e. the Triple S and the sock trainer. And some not so good, even questionable stuff, such as the completely destroyed Paris hot top sneaker, the 7-layer parka, a purse that resembled an IKEA shopping bag, and a t-shirt with a button up just kind of hanging off the front of it. One of the positives that Demna helped bring was Kanye West, or Ye as he's known these days, over to the brand, who had been cool with him since his Vetment days. Ye in the Donda era was a huge fan of the house. During the days of him crashing in basements of giant arenas as he was crafting his Donda album, Ye hosted two big spectacle listening events, the latter of which was art directed by Demna and Balenciaga. Ye would go in the stores and literally buy out all the Balenciaga items that they had. Even to this day, after all of the fallout, Ye surprisingly still seems to be a fan, but more on that later. Demna helped design the Donda merch drop also, and would later be brought into the situation that Ye had with Gap, creating the Yeezy by Gap engineered by Balenciaga collection. This resulted in the fabled rounded jacket and the quote-unquote perfect hoodie design. There were several other pieces dropped by them too, but that's more Gap stuff, and this video is about Balenciaga. So Demna will remain close with Kanye, who brought his then wife Kim Kardashian over to fandom with him. But in 2001, Demna and by extension Balenciaga began to have a few issues, shall we say. It all began with the release of the quote, joggers with boxers, which were, as the name implies, a baggy pair of sweats that were made to look like you were sagging. Some got upset with the brand, stating that they were, quote, culture appropriating a style that black men created. But personally, I was more upset that they were charging $1,200 for these ugly ass pants. Balenciaga pretty much shrugged it off and continued to sell the pants, but oh boy, there will be more. There will be much more. Later in 2022, the Kanye saga began. I covered the Ye saga in a previous video where I asked if he could make a comeback, and needless to say, he hadn't done much to help his cause since then. The crazy thing is, Balenciaga, along with Adidas and Gap, dropped Ye when he debuted his White Lives Matter t-shirt, which is part of what I think contributed to him going full tilt later on. But Balenciaga thought that they had sufficiently virtue signaled, but no, there would be much bigger problems down the way. Nearing the holiday season, Balenciaga would release a gift collection which included, among other things, a teddy bear looking bag all clad in BDSM gear. Edgy, but no big deal, right? Except the photo spread they decided to go with had kids modeling the bags. This wouldn't be all though. Another photo surfaced of a shoot featuring a purse from Balenciaga by Adidas collection sitting atop paperwork from a Supreme Court case on child porn. And as a cherry on top, another photo from the kids shoot came out showing a picture of the Balenciaga crime scene tape that they've used before, only this roll spelled Balenciaga with two A's, as in Baal Balenciaga. And for those that don't know, Baal is an ancient Canaanite deity to whom many sacrificed kids to in the olden days. So, yeesh. To have all of these things come out around the same time looked really bad for the fashion house. Rightfully so, attacks began to flood in. Balenciaga scrubbed their social media pages, and in a move that wins the biggest cap ever award, they sued the company that they had hired for the shoot, claiming that, quote, Balenciaga had no idea whatsoever what was going to be included in said shoot. Many understandably called bullshit on this, because with a brand as large as Balenciaga, there's absolutely no way that they were not in complete control of every aspect of this photo shoot. They even went as far as to sue the company, North 6, who shot the photo spread. In an attempt to escape blame, they went public and throwing up their hands and feigning ignorance, but uncoincidentally, the sham lawsuit was quietly dropped a few days before the recording of this video. So, yeah. Suddenly, Everyone involved with the brand began doing their best impression of the hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil bit. Nobody knew anything. It was like an interrogation of a bunch of mobsters. Kim Kardashian released a lame statement about her quote-unquote evaluating her relationship weeks ago, despite them throwing her ex-husband under the bus. And speaking of Kanye, on his tour of weird and wild interviews, he even claimed to still have love for the brand while wearing a Balenciaga mask. And I saw some that claimed that his jacket that he was wearing on Alex Jones was Balenciaga. But no, it was Vetman's. They also joked about his quote-unquote gimp mask, but wrong again. This, my friends, is a gimp mask. Demna himself will release a kind of strange statement on his Instagram stating, quote, "I take my responsibility. As much as I would sometimes like to provoke a thought through my work, yeah, but what kind of thought you trying to provoke here, fam?" He goes on to say, "I would never have any intention to do that with such an awful subject as child abuse that I condone," end quote. So was he saying that he was unaware of what was in the shoot too, of which I would not believe? Or was he saying that he was aware and had something to do with the planning of it and simply didn't know that people would take this kind of offense to it? Either way, like, what the fuck, bro? I mean, I can even excuse the whole Baal stuff because Demna has always played with pentagrams and upside down crosses going back to his Vetment days. So I can write that off as tongue-in-cheek edgelord shit, but the kid stuff? And I mean, I've seen tons of, and I hate to use the term conspiracy theory because that's been bastardized lately, but I've seen tons of speculations that Balenciaga is into all kinds of weird shit and catering to the Ghislaine Maxwell client list crowd, if you know what I mean. And to be honest, do I think this is true? I mean, who's to say? I don't know Demna personally, and I looked into his past issues to see if he had any kind of other come-ups about stuff like this, and I couldn't find anything. So, I mean, you be the judge. One thing is for sure, he definitely knew what was going on in the shoot. So the question is, can Balenciaga survive this as a brand? And if you ask me, man, I mean, I gotta say, knowing people, they probably will. Everyone is understandably lambasting them now, and I think at some point they probably will cut ties with Demna, but Balenciaga as a brand will likely survive this. This is a house that went on a 20-year hiatus before, only to bounce back and pick right back up where they left off with a new creative director. I think the stink from this scandal will linger for quite a while, but many people today have the memories of fruit flies, so a few months silence and a public regime change will likely be enough for tons of people to forget all about what we talked about today. But what do you think? Is Balenciaga out of there for good, or can they make a comeback from this? Hit us up in the comment section and let us know. Also, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button. As I always say, liking and sharing the video is the best way to help us to continue to grow as a channel, and we really can't do it without you guys' help. And if you want to be updated every time we drop a new episode, then hit the subscribe button and then the notification bell. That way you'll be dinged when a new episode drops. But with that being said, I'm Nate the Great from TakeFlight214.com signing out. Until next time. Peace.